I mentioned while we were talking that I'd heard that that there was a comment that someone had made that wasn't, as I found out later, wasn't true. So Dr. Halper Hayes basically said that Jan Halper Hayes. So she said that I'd heard that she said that Kristi Noem was arrested because she had arrested somebody in Congress. She said that that wasn't true. She didn't actually say that. So a lot of disinformation is out there. I said that I hadn't confirmed it, but I heard it from what I thought was a good source. Good sources can put out, lots of conflicting information as well. So anyway, she got back to us and she said, on the roundtable last night, you claimed I stated something I hadn't. Noam was fired because she was caught revealing things to open society person. So I'm not sure quite what that means, but the whole claim that her staff had put spyware in her phone was a cover. It was not saboteurs. It was strategic, as there have been suspicions about her loyalty. Kennedy grilling her about the $228 million ad campaign is only the surface. She was caught, and she has never been fully on board with Trump. She did everything to prevent his event at Mount Rushmore. Her disloyalty roots go back far. So that was from Dr. Jan Halper Hayes, just cleaning that up, make sure we're on the right, side of things. Now, she did an article back in January that I think is relevant to what we're going to cover today about what I feel that we're in a pretty much Armageddon, right? So Armageddon, the crazy things that we've heard, Armageddon, we've said a lot of people talk about it over time. I believe that it's a very strong case that we are in Armageddon now, and we're going to talk about that. But first of all, let's look at what Dr. Jan Halper Hayes put out back in January of this year. Have you lost focus that this is a spiritual war? So this was January 30th of this year, and that's a great picture. Of course, I have the connection to Archangel Michael, defeating the devil. Have you lost focus that this is a spiritual war? Tuned into a podcast in which MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is complaining that MAGA was a lie. If you agree, let me be as polite as I can be. You are as clueless as MTG. Why has the military invited 34 nations in the Western Hemisphere to a February 11th summit? Do you really think it is limited to cartels and crime? So that was the peace initiative that President Trump started. Did you believe that MAGA, meaning making America great again, was to be done in isolation? Are you, like MTG, whining? Do you think Trump focusing on other countries violates the goals of MAGA? Yes, we have to work together, as she's going to talk about here. Are you aware that to defeat the oligarchs who run the New World Order, the central banks, and are the puppeteers of the globalist political patsies, it means surgically dissecting their efforts to knock them and their pawns off the chessboard? Do you think that financial sovereignty is achieved in a bubble? Are you aware that as long as we have a Federal Reserve controlling the economy, that the U.S. remains under the control of the cabal's central bankers? And I would say we could call that the Satanist or the Luciferian central bankers. Can Trump and his cabinet extricate us from the global faction by simply wearing blinders and only focusing on domestic issues? So that's why we're in Armageddon right now in Iran, I believe. We can't just focus on domestic issues. We have to make this a worldwide event. Otherwise, we could clean it up in America, but they'll just filter right back in very quickly and maybe even destroy America, as we're going to talk about as well. I could go on with more questions to get one to rethink what is really in play, but I am not here to argue the points. That is what is designed to further division. I am reminding you that your focus has gone awry. If you're criticizing Trump and accusing MAGA of promises violated, then it means you have lost sight that this is a spiritual war. It means that perhaps you are those who voted for Trump, supported Trump, but have moved into a critical, judgmental, emotional mindset. You know how I've talked about the emotional, quotient, intelligence quotient. You have to be emotionally intelligent at this point. If you're not, then you're easily controlled and you're part of the problem, right? Has the devil infected your mind? Is it possible that the dissension arising within MAGA, America First, is a result of infiltration by the devil's minions? Does it mean you have lost faith in God, or is it simply the devil's distractions blinding you? 2 Corinthians 11:14. And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, right? So I've met Dr. Jan Halper Hayes. She is a very beautiful soul. So I appreciate, those comments that she's made and coming in and, kind of focusing where this fight is in the spiritual war and who's the good ones and who's the bad ones. All right. So she quickly, brought to light that there's a lot more that we're going to learn from Kristi Noem that is not so good. Right. So she's been, pushed off to the side, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with her. All right. Armageddon is the prophecy gathering of armies for a battle during the end times. So it doesn't mean that, necessarily that, it's a complete devastation of Earth, although there could be, as I'm going to discuss, like I said, in the end. But there is the possibility, and I believe very strongly, that is the war against good and evil. Of course, America and the ones that join America at this point are aligned against evil. And the mullahs of Iran are absolutely and unequivocally extreme evil. And they have been fomenting and stirring things up around the world and here in America, as we're starting to see Muslim extremists are starting to kick off here in America. All right. So, and we're just getting going. We're just getting started here in America. But we had to go out and clean it up in the root of it, which was and is in the Islamic world of Iran. All right. All right. So now where was this Armageddon supposed to take place? It talks about a mountain or a range of hills. All right. So that's very, it really sounds a lot like Tel Aviv. All right. And also Tehran, both of them. So, so both of them, or either one, however you want to look at it, could be the term Megiddo. So Megiddo, the place where the final battles were going to be taking place in the Old Testament. So that's very interesting. So let me show you the plains of Tehran. So there's plains around Tehran, and of course there's plains around Tel Aviv as well. So Tel Aviv, let's start with Iran. So it's called I believe it's pronounced the Hadij plain, a piece of paradise near Tehran. So this is, I had to look it up. I was like, well, is this Armageddon? I believe it is. So is there a plain next to Tehran? And sure enough, there is. As you guys can see, it's been this way for, of course, thousands of years. So it would make sense that it was referring to this potentially, right? The Hadij plain, also known as Gurchal among locals, is a stunning plain located at an altitude, so surrounded by mountains, like you talked about, the city surrounded by mountains, at an altitude of 2,400 meters above sea level in this county, and in the village of Ouch. Right? Ooh, ouch. It is not far from Tehran and is surrounded by natural beauty. The expansive plain is covered with lush greenery and flowers, providing breathtaking beauty and numerous attractions that draw people from Tehran and other cities in the region. Right. So here it is. Beautiful pictures of this plain around Tehran. Right. So there's also, of course, a plain around Tel Aviv. So let's look at the Sharon plain around Tel Aviv. It is a central section of Israel, coastal plain. The name Sharon is derived from the Akkadian word Asherona, right? Ma Sharona, I don't know. It's kind of just popped in my head. But, there is some interesting things about both of these planes, and the Armageddon that talks about the last battle against of good and evil. And here it is, the plane, Tel Aviv plane, right? Here's pictures of it. So, Armageddon. Were you in Armageddon? I say, if at any time in the history of when that was written, this is probably it, right? It looks very much so that we're actually in that period of time. Now, we're seeing that this battle is causing U.S. oil to skyrocket. At one point today, it was up, and this is the futures markets. It's not trading doesn't start on the U.S. Stock Exchange until 9:30 tomorrow morning. But as you guys can see here, this is what we call the God candle, right? Where it goes up. It's a massive green spike. We had one on Friday. This is U.S. oil, West Texas Intermediate, which is sweet. I guess if you taste oil, this is like really clean. But anyway, it was up, like I said, up to 111. It's up over 100. It's at 106 right now. So very possible that it's going to go up more. The dollar, the Dixie, is up almost to $100 again. And Bitcoin is fluctuating to the downside. We've got the precious metals are kind of like, spiking up and down. I'm kind of surprised. I would thought that silver would spike much, much higher because the trading, I guess, in everywhere else or throughout the world, China, India, you name it, it's well over $100 right now. So if it stays that way when we come into I guess 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time is when the British exchange starts to trade. You could have the people of the rest of the world come in and buy the paper because that the paper has been manipulating the markets for a long time. Silver, that is. They could come and buy the paper and then go to like China and sell it for, if it's trading like it is right now at 82, they could go and trade it, buy the paper at 82, and then go over for delivery to China at 112. That's a big markup. And that would probably destroy all of the reserves, gold reserves that they have in Britain. So they would collapse. It would be seen as a Ponzi scheme. It is. So we'll see if they try and hold those numbers, guys, or if we see silver spike to what it should be, 112, 115, 125 next week. So it'll be very interesting how this gets played next week. Now we're right on the cusp, I believe, the stock market collapsing, and I'll make the case for that. The bubble report is what I follow. I think it's a very good report. But first of all, let's look at what President Trump is saying about the oil prices and if he's going to tap the strategic oil reserves. Things are in crisis mode right now. So things are going to be moving very rapidly, I think.
Invested announced some moves to temporarily allow certain Russian oil sales to India. Are you considering any other?
So Russia is probably loving the fact that the price of oil is skyrocketing, and they're going to make a lot of money because we've heard that Russia was almost on the verge of collapse financially. So this will, and is this on purpose to help them? Remains to be seen, but they're going to make out on this. So President Trump is going to allow the sale of oil, so it'll settle the market so much so Russia will be able to sell oil because there's no oil going through the Straits of Hormuz right now, and that's what's driving the price up.
Including the SPR.
Well, if there were some, I would do it just to take a little of the pressure off. But I think that the oil pressure, but there's a lot of oil. We've got a lot of oil. Our country has a tremendous amount, and there's a lot of oil out there. That'll get healed very quickly.
Would you consider using the SPR or tapping into the SPR at some point?
Strategic reserve?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the one that built them up. Biden used them so that he could get some extra votes in the election. It turned out it wasn't even him that ran, it was Kamala. And she obviously didn't get any extra votes because we won in an absolute landslide. So he should have used it for that. He used it I filled it up, and he brought it down to the lowest level it's ever been. We will start at the appropriate time, which is basically a gut instinct. We will start filling up these strategic reserves.
What are the circumstances?
So it sounds like he's not going to tap the strategic reserves. He's going to fill them back up after Biden. And as he said, it wasn't Biden. Interesting, because Biden was definitely in office then, but he said Kamala did it. So as we've talked about before, Biden was not really there. And was that a telegraph that Biden was not there? Sounds like it. All right. So, President Trump said for many years that Biden doesn't even know he's not alive, doesn't even know he's alive. And Biden's gone. And so all these references to Biden haven't been taken out. And we've seen, Biden doubles with the mask, coming up around the neck and all kind of crazy stuff. So it's being revealed. It gets revealed at the time it does. I think it's already revealed that Biden was never there, that Biden was probably executed, like they said, before, sometime before office. So what would be the thing that absolutely would, get him pulled and executed? Probably the child trafficking, and not necessarily child trafficking that he was involved in, but the actual they had evidence of him doing very horrific things with children. He did it right in front of the public, and people still, liberals still look the other way. But we were just like calling out like crazy and showing all the pictures of him molesting children, girls and boys and women. And then we saw that, it wasn't him. He wasn't around anymore. So those old pictures of Biden doing that, maybe that was what they used to say, pull him and go, shoot. Or was it some kind of treason? I think it's probably the treason that he knew that he was stealing the 2020 election, and that was treasonous, and that's executable, right? So many, many different reasons why a lot of these people should go bye-bye. Perhaps many of them already have. We got a lot of actors out there just keeping the fake show going. fake information going back and forth, disinformation going back and forth. So you got to be very, very careful. Like I fell for the one thing with Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes. So, and I won't say that I fell for it. I heard it from, like I said, a reliable source. But I hadn't looked at it yet. Supposedly it was on a video that she was talking. I was like, I haven't seen that, but I heard that she said this type thing. So sometimes it's better to just, like I normally do, just wait a day or two before you put something out after you hear it. All right. So after that, or maybe even before or during, whatever, we have, seen in California, which is, run by extreme evil, just like there's extreme evil in the Middle East and Iran. We have extreme evil that's running many of our Democrat states, right? So, and Gavin Newsom, who I think is probably also no longer Gavin Newsom, is keeping the show going. But Chevron sounds alarm over cap and invest program. This is in California. California's oil industry is sending a stark warning to state leaders over a proposed climate policy critics say would drive up gas prices. So California already with the highest gas prices in the nation. I think there's another gas tax that's going into effect either next week or the week after. That's already been signed into law, and it's going to, just make it more horrific, especially now that gas prices are going up because of the perceived, less availability of oil. And like President Trump said, here in America, we have lots of oil. But if we have the people that take that oil and make it into gas being kicked out of California because of, stupid policies. So it goes on to say Chevron and other large companies say the policy, which would require large polluters, so they're calling them large polluters, to pay more for their emissions. So this is a pie in the sky bullshit, steal money from corporations and people that these evil Democrats are doing. These communist, Democrat, Marxist, terrorists that are running some of these states that we're in, that we have. The warning comes as Californians grapple with elevated gas prices caused by the war in Iran, which is basically probably going to accelerate even higher next week. In a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom, lawmakers, and the California Air Resources Board, Chevron officials said they are concerned over proposed updates to the 2-decade-old cap and trade program. The initiative caps pollution in California, requiring large polluters to buy credits to cover their emissions. The revenue raised by those credits is then reinvested to clean energy-related projects. Of course, we know that California is basically extremely corrupt. They take this money and they put it into the Democrat socialist, repopulating, I guess, that they bring in all the corrupt people from all over the world to populate California so they can use them and have them vote. So you get, they tax like they're trying to do here, and Elon Musk had this in one of his posts today. They tax someone $500, and that person now is disenfranchised. They hate the system. They hate, the Democrats. They'll never vote for the Democrats. But they take that money, that $500, to give $100 to illegal immigrants, and all those 5 illegal immigrants are going to vote. So they overwhelm that one vote with 5, right? So this is what these demon rats are doing here in America. Now we've had a couple refineries that have left. Valero and Phillips 66 have recently closed refineries in the last year. So Chevron is on the brink of closing, and that is going to affect everybody all along the coast and inland and so forth. I think there's like 32 different military bases in California. They need that fuel, all right? So are we going to see President Trump step in and say, enough is enough, California? Your stupid climate tax is all bullshit. It means nothing. We're seeing, you guys have said for decades, all the way back to Al Gore, that we wouldn't even have any snow left. And of course, we're getting tons of snow everywhere still. And you guys have lied. So no more of this bullshit game you're playing to steal money and transfer it into keeping yourselves in power. All right, so this is probably what's going to happen. And I don't know, maybe those other refineries, President Trump will protect them from the evil clutches of the California governance. And I don't know, make it some kind of War Powers Act or something, because we're at war, and we got to have the oil for war, obviously. And of course, if they take away Chevron, then the little guy is the one that really gets hurt ultimately, because gas prices, like they are rising already, and then California just knocks the hell out of it even more. It's like it's down on the ground, and California is like bitch kicking, this, and it's like it's out of control. I know how to handle it. So you got a lot of military there in California. Activate them, and then just take charge. So that's one of the things that we have that's very concerning. Now, the other concerning thing, as you guys see with the price of oil skyrocketing on Friday, the S&P, Standard & Poor, and the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ all took a big hit, right? They went down pretty significantly, and they broke support levels. All right, so this is pretty much, the stock market hasn't been rising. It rose, I guess they had the Santa Claus rally, which didn't quite, perform. And now it's just been in a range, up, down, and not breaking the highs, but consistently breaking lower and lower and lower. So same thing with crypto. We're probably going to see a major pullback, maybe even starting Monday. All right, we saw a pretty good one on Friday, which basically, like I said, broke all kinds of support. Now we're seeing the same thing that we have seen throughout all the stock market crashes throughout time, going all the way back to 1929, the Nifty 50, the .com bust, 2008 housing crash. So all of these things are very similar to what's going on now. So let me show you that we're actually in a bigger bubble than ever in time. Now, I've known this, but I thought that we might still see higher highs, because usually you'll see like this crazy spike at the end. We haven't had that, but it doesn't mean that we have to have that, right? Especially now we're in a situation where normally when gas prices spike, the stock market kinks. If we go back to all of the stock market spikes from war, or stock market spikes downward, then and you look at the oil spikes, that has led to major pullbacks. The Gulf War and several other wars we've had in the Middle East where they gone after the oil or whatever, it has massively impacted the stock market, right? So we're in the same situation. We have lots of things that are stacked up against the stock market. We have already for last year or so in most places, but it's starting to catch hold, and almost everywhere we're having housing prices that are starting to tank pretty significantly. In some areas in Florida, it's down, significantly. I think 20% some places. So that's a bear market. You have 20% down, you're in a bear market. So in some some housing areas, we're in a bear market. It'll catch hold, and I think other ones. But let's look at some of the stuff that I've been looking at. I'm a technical guy, excuse me, to a great extent. But I also look at the all of the other factors as well. Like you look at the war that's happening. You look at the oil that's going up, and then you look at what's happening with the actual technicals. All right, so the technicals basically are telling you what's going on, usually before the big dump happens. And I think we're right on the cusp of a big dump. Now, I've been warning for a long time to allocate into silver if some of your stock portfolio, 25. I would say you need to be 50 to 75% in silver at this point. I wouldn't be in a stock. In fact, I have some stocks that are in the silver miners, and I'm going to pull those. I've made some very nice profits on them, but I'm going to pull those because if the stock market goes down, those are going to go down too, right? All stocks go down. And silver and gold and everything will probably pull back initially like they normally do, and then they will rocket higher like you've never seen before. Now, we could see that happening sometime this week, the pullback in the stock market, and then the decoupling of precious metals, and then the massive takeoff, going well beyond $100 range up into the 150. I predicted that by June, the middle of the year, it will be $250 silver. And then by the end of the year, $500 silver. So I think those, I could be underperforming on those as we go forward, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for you, if you're in the silver, and then we'll start to transition to gold, and gold will go much higher. All right, so this is, like I said, the bubble report, Jesse Colombo's. I'm not going to show you all of it because that's his stuff. All right, but I'll tease you with it. And he shows the breakdowns that are happening, Magnificent Seven, all three of the stock markets, like you talked about, consolidation phases, and then a breakdown. I've said that I believe that crypto or Bitcoin is going to go to $35, 35,000. I don't know, maybe $35, but definitely down to 35,000 because that's the way. If you look at the highs and where it can go, $35. So that means all of crypto will go down quite substantially. All right, so you see this line in the sand, which is coming up, which is around 65 or so. If it hits 65, and it's right now, I think it's 66, and breaking below 66. So we're very close to 65. I would think that probably tomorrow, at some point, it's going to break below 65 and then just go down big, right? So that's just my thoughts. Something could turn that around. President Trump could, get those ships moving through the Straits of Hormuz. If that happens, then you'll probably see the stock market turn back around. But until that happens, and if it's extended that it doesn't happen, then you're going to continue to see, I believe, the stock market go down pretty significantly. So if you look throughout time, the cyclically adjusted P/E, price and earnings ratio, the cap ratio, you can see here the roaring 20s, and then see how it collapsed to the undervaluation zone. You have the overvaluation zone. See how much higher we are over that overvaluation zone, way above it. All right, so anytime that stocks get above that overvaluation zone, they usually pull back and touch the undervaluation zone, or if they've gone extreme, then they're going to go down well below it, like it did for 1929. So you see the roaring 20s. Look at that right there. See that right there? When was the next time it hit that level again? Not until 1990 something. So probably 1999, right? Then it started going up again, and the valuation for stocks, pretty much the same level as Dow Jones. I think it was something like almost like 50 years before we got back to the same level as the Roaring '20s. So you would have if you sat on your money, then you would have been out of it for 50 years. So what we want to do is go with what is going to take off and earn a lot of money. It's not going to be stocks. It's going to be silver and gold, right? This is the way it has always been, and it's the way it's going to be in the future at a level that's never been seen before. So you take that undervaluation performing like stocks and bonds and real estate, and you go into something that's going to overperform, way overperform, like in multi-generational overperform, and that's silver and gold. And then you're going to take that overperformance and you're going to buy the like you see down here, undervaluation. That's what you're going to have with stocks and crypto and housing. So that's why you got to be in silver, guys. I've been saying this for years now, and I'll show you where that turnaround point was. It was about the point where Dr. Kirk Elliott and I were jumping up and down saying, please, please buy silver now. And those of you that have done that are very happy, but you're going to be much happier going forward. All right. So as you guys can see, it pops overvaluation and then goes down and then it comes back. Now the dot-com bubble, I mean, look at that back in 81, 82. And guess what? That was when silver reached its high, right? And then it turned around. So then it would have been a time to take your winnings from silver and start to invest in the stock market, which I did, right? And I didn't get out soon enough, unfortunately, the dot-com bubble. I got hammered pretty good, but I still had substantial, money, and started investing back in silver again, and then made a lot of money in silver again. And then I've turned that around and made money in crypto, made money in, the stocks and so forth. And now it's time to turn it around. And this turnaround will be like nothing ever in history. It's going to make this boom and bust look like child's play, right? And this bust and boom look like child play. And so you're going to get incredible valuations from silver and gold. So here we are in the everything bubble right now. So again, massively overvalued. Now in this dot-com bust, they came in and pumped the money supply, and that kept it afloat. And then of course we had the that went sideways for a while, and then it went bust again in the housing crash of 2008-9. Again, that's when silver and gold made their massive move upwards. So we had this big bubble or this big cup going back all the way back to the 80s, right down in here until the late 2010, 12, and then it made a handle over the last couple of years. And now we're in, the point where it's really going to lift off. And that cup and handle is one of the biggest cup and handles in history of any asset ever, right? So usually a cup and handle, reversal to the upside, it rewards massively. And this one will be, we'll look back on this, 10 years or so from now when it's probably done its course, and we'll go, holy moly, wow, that was incredible. Does it mean that you can't take profits along the way and invest in the underperforming assets, guys? Because that will be your time to come in, pick up those asset classes that have underperformed, and eventually they'll turn around again and shoot up. All right. So this is the way it's done. you have the greatest opportunity in history of all time to earn income in a way that's never been seen before. All right, so that's the everything bubble. So the everything bubble again. This is the Warren Buffett. He's started getting out of the stock market and equities a couple years ago, right? And that's when silver turned around and really started to shoot up, and gold started to shoot up. So the Buffett indicator, the average since 71 to 87, right in here, and you see how the dot-com bust, went way too high. He got out and got ready to buy. So of course, he rides it up, and he starts getting out early in all of these instances because he's a very smart guy like that. And he waits till it crashes, and then he buys the assets at cheap, and then he sells again, and then he buys again. And so he bought, and he started getting out, like I said, a couple of years ago, right? So here we are, the everything bubble, the stock market capitalization to gross domestic product ratio. So here we are at one of the highest ever at any time. Look at that. Dot-com bubble was pretty big, but this one is like, wow. It's a wowzer, right? So again, another one. So the NASDAQ 100 adjusted by the U.S. M2 money supply. So dot-com bubble, all right, really high, and then it crashed. Now look, even higher than the dot-com bust, right? And it took the NASDAQ, 10 to 12 years before it turned around and came back up. So stock ownership of U.S. households, how many people in the U.S. Households are owning? Right now, it's at just over 45%, the highest in history, right? During the dot-com bust, it was around 37 or so. Now it's at 45, right? Contrarian bubble, basically their housing bubble, and their Nifty 50 bubble back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. And then it bust, and then it popped back up many, many, many years later, right? Took it a long time to come back. So here we are again, back at the, it's showing the gold, but silver is the one that really runs fast and hard like a racehorse, and then it gets tired. And then gold, which is like the, the tortoise. So the rabbit, runs ahead, gets tired, and the tortoise passes it because it fell asleep. That's silver. Silver is the rabbit. So it's running. I think the rabbit has, the rest of this year before we start moving towards the end of the year into gold. So we'll see what the gold silver ratio is, and it gets lower, and then we start to move into gold. All right. So this is what we see back in the Nifty 50. Gold outperformed stocks late 1960s to early 1980s. And I remember this time. This is when I made a lot of money. All right, because I started, buying silver, not back in 1943, but when I was a little boy, when I was around 11, so 1971. So there you go. And for the next 20 years, it went up, it went high, right? So this was the time you wanted to be in silver and gold, right? Boom. And then it started to turn around. It turned around all the way into the dot-com bust. And then after the dot-com bust, gold outperformed stocks 2000s to early 2010, turns around again. And now we're back into gold outperformed stocks mid-20s, 2020s to probably the late 2030s, right? Or mid-2030s. We'll see. So mid-2020s, mid-30s, at least, I think, at least 10 years to the top for silver and the gold. Remember, silver's the rabbit and gold is the tortoise. I mean, you can get into gold now, but you could take your high-performing silver where you have a lot of money, a lot of, winnings because the rabbit did really well for you. And then you take that and you can buy more gold. So you can buy gold now, or you could buy more gold later if you're in silver. See what I'm saying? So anyway, this is the plan. This is the way the plan has worked throughout time. Throughout time, going all the way back to before the Egyptians. All right, and the gold-silver ratio usually is around 2-to-1 or 5-to-1 at the most. In more recent times, it's been 15-to-1. It was at one point well over 100-to-1. And that was the time where we were jumping up and down saying, you got to buy it. All right. So now that's turned around. The ratio is starting to squeeze tighter. At some point, we'll go crazy, go happily over into buying a lot of gold. All right. All right. So that's where we're going to be going. Hopefully you guys are on for that ride. It will make a difference. Now, let's look at, and this is going to take a little bit of time. If you need to go potty, go run right now. And so this is going to take a little bit more time to get through this. This is basically the other side of Armageddon, where the earth gets destroyed, right? And we've talked about this. I've talked about this for quite some time. How I see this coming, just like I've seen a lot of other things that have transpired. I see devastation of the earth. Now, we've had gene decode, and I've read many books of people that have seen Christ, and Christ told them that he's basically he's not going to save the world. He's going to create a new world. And there's other people that have seen that as well in the past. And we're going to talk about that. So very, very interesting times. We're going to see Dolores Cannon said 2026 is a monumental time. Edgar Casey said 2026 is a monumental time for consciousness. And basically, as Dolores Cannon said, we shift from this earth to a new earth. All right. That's what Gene Decode has said. Gene Decode had basically one of those near-death experiences, and as he saw all things, and quite amazing. He talked about that in the last show that I had with him. I had never heard that before, and I don't know if you've heard that from Gene Decode before, but that was a monumental. And I guess you guys have watched that. It has a lot of views. So we're going to have Gene Decode come back on in a few days. We're going to have some this. Next week's going to be pretty high speed. A lot of good speakers coming in. Now, to put even more perspective, some of the people that follow the planets, the horoscopes, and so forth, look into the future and how the planets align and so forth. Friday the 13th does not look good. Neither does the 14th. Now, there's a prophecy that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes of this woman that had died, NDE, and she was with Jesus for 17 minutes. An interesting number, right? For 17 minutes, and during that time, he showed her 6 different catastrophes that are happening in America, right? And we're going to talk about that. Now, I've been talking about that. Other people have been talking about that, but we're going to see it from another view. So, apocalyptic. Let's look at some of those apocalyptic sites that are out there, and boy, do they definitely look apocalyptic. Crazy. So now let's look at this. I've seen so many of these prophecies. They're all pointing, guys, to some kind of a catastrophic event here in the United States, and of course around the world as well, but especially here in the United States. Massive flooding on both coasts, and the Mississippi basically flooding as well. Massive earthquakes, so bad that the earth becomes liquid, which we've seen in the past, where it seems like everything has sunken, like underground cities. So massive earthquakes to the point where everything, or some kind of manipulation. where everything, the ground becomes liquid and cities sink, right? And things collapse and so forth. Now, we've seen this in the past. I've been pointing this out for quite some time. And I think that, we're going to see this happen in the United States unless we work together and get God involved. But I don't think it's up to that. I think that this earth, this old earth, is going to be destroyed. And like I said, we're going to, those that are of higher consciousness are going to ascend to a new earth. So this is what this one woman, she died in a classroom, like I said, and she came back and she shared the information that Jesus had showed her. So this is supposed to start on March 15th, right? So we're only a week away.
Amanda, he said, and my name in his voice sounded like it meant something it had never meant before. What I'm about to show you is not symbolic. It is not allegory. It is not warning wrapped in metaphor for you to interpret according to your comfort. These are events with specific dates and specific locations and specific consequences, and they are coming in sequence, 6 of them, between now and the middle of August. Watch everything. Remember everything. Because the faithful who...
So from, if we come to March 15th and nothing happens, and it's like, okay, but there's other things, like I talked about, March 20th seems to be another potential event date. Now, Heaven's Gate, there's, like I said, there's lots of people that are, predicting. Of course, a lot of these predictions have, been made over time. Some come true, some not. So you got to take it all with a grain of sand. Of course, you stay in that love vibration, like you see on my shirt, and you trust in. You can trust in Jesus. Jesus has obviously been very proactive over the last 1 or 2 years, especially over the last several months. So interesting take. So let's listen to one, and then I'll just try and get you guys through the next few. Now, she doesn't say anything about the West Coast. It's all about the East Coast flooding, the Mississippi, expanding its bounds through a massive earthquake in New Madrid fault zone, and then Yellowstone kicks off and spews ash, and it just destroys crops and livestock throughout several states. So she doesn't mention the West Coast. I've seen from several other people that the West Coast gets hammered too, but we'll kind of go into that just as a maybe, or what if I thought that it was going to be just the West Coast because it seems so strong to me. So we'll see, how this pans out. Or if it does, or if it doesn't.
This warning and act while there is still time will survive what is coming, and those who dismiss it because it disrupts their comfort will wish they had listened. I did not speak. There was nothing in me capable of casual response to what I was feeling. The landscape around us changed without moving. We were suddenly suspended above the United States at an altitude that should have made individual features invisible, and yet I could see everything with impossible resolution. I could see highways and rivers and the outlines of cities, the green and brown patchwork of farmland, the gray-white sprawl of urban centers. But portions of what I was seeing were wrong in ways that took me a moment to identify. Parts of the country were darkened, not shadowed, erased, as though the ground beneath them had simply opted out of continuing to exist. The first vision descended on me with a force I felt physically, though I had no body in the ordinary sense. I found myself above the eastern seaboard, the Atlantic coast from Maine down to Georgia, and I watched the ocean begin to behave in ways the ocean is not supposed to behave. March 14th, Jesus said, and his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty, the kind of certainty that does not need to justify itself with evidence, because it is itself the source of all evidence. An underwater...
Now, we've seen the Canary Islands for quite some time. You guys might remember the Canary Islands several years ago started to erupt. There was a lot of people thought that a piece of the Canary Islands was going to break off and cause a massive tsunami. They predicted this for quite some time. I said no, because I was actually going into the mountainous terrain and turning off some bombs that they had to accomplish that. So remote viewing, remote influencing, I do that kind of stuff. But whether that's true or not, I can't prove that. But that's what I was getting, that they were going to collapse a portion of the Canary Islands and cause that tsunami. Will they be able to do it? Is that where it's coming from? She's talking about in here where Jesus showed her a volcano, underwater volcano that erupts and causes this.
Volcanic event in the Atlantic triggered by structural collapse along a fault system the geological community has underestimated for 30 years. The displacement of water will be catastrophic. The wave will begin small and grow across 3,000 miles of open ocean, arriving at the eastern seaboard in the early afternoon hours. By the time the alert systems reach the public, the window for evacuation will have already closed for most of the coastal population. I watched the wave. I watched it approach the coastline, not as a dramatic wall the way disaster films portray tsunamis, but as a profound, unstoppable rising. The ocean did not so much crash as ascend, water moving inland with the quiet confidence of something that has decided, filling streets and ground floors and parking structures and subway tunnels. I watched Boston Harbor disappear. I watched the coastal neighborhoods of New York go under in minutes, the water climbing buildings to the 4th and 5th floor before stabilizing at an elevation that would not recede for weeks. I recognized Ocean City from family vacations, and I watched the boardwalk I had walked with my children simply cease to exist as a location. The highways inland were already impassable. The warning had come too late and too ambiguously, a series of conflicting alerts that the public had not been trained to interpret. And the result was gridlock on every arterial road within 50 miles of the coast while the water was still rising. I watched people abandoning vehicles and running and not running fast enough. I watched the decisions that parents make when they cannot save everyone and can only carry one child at a time. 12 million in the first hours, Jesus said, and his voice was not distant when he said it. It was grieved. The displacement and the secondary flooding will continue to claim lives for weeks. I was weeping, though I had no face to weep with. I was weeping in whatever way a spirit weeps when it is shown something true and terrible and near. Before I could fully hold what I had witnessed, the vision shifted. The eastern coast fell away, and I was looking at the center of the country, the great...
All right. So now, this seems to have been prophesied long ago. There is a church in New York City, St. John the Divine, which has carvings on it, which shows depictions of New York being hit by some kind of tsunami or something. So let me share that. So there's many things like this that points to the possibility of this. Now look at this carving. This apocalyptic New York City church facade depicts city collapsing beneath giant waves, and it says here nuclear explosion, but here it is, and depicted giant wave coming in. So why would they do that? Just random, right? So I would say it's not random. It is, people have seen this, these visions, before, and they've been sharing them for quite some time. Now, the timing, I don't think is always perfect. So you guys that are there, you got to trust your intuition, of course, on this. But as, she was, informed by Jesus, there will be people that will blow it off and they'll wish they hadn't, right? So I'm no longer on the East Coast. So, that I left, Florida. And was it because there's going to be this coming apocalyptic event? Possibly. I can't say definitively, but I've seen it but I can't say when it's going to happen or if, because these things can change through our consciousness. Prayer does have an effect, but I think, like I've said, that this earth that we're on right now, as many, many, many people have seen through visions and near-death experiences and visitation by Jesus and other ascended, angels and so forth, that it appears that this earth is going to be destroyed, and it will still exist for some, but for the rest of us that are on a higher consciousness, pathway, we go to the new earth, and that's my thoughts on that. I think that's coming. I think it's been planned for some time. There was a psychic that did a reading for me with my son when he passed away, and we're wondering if he was going to come back soon so we could, maybe see him again. And he says, "Not now." Right? So there's going to be tribulations on the earth, and I will come back later. All right. So and maybe I'll meet him in the new earth. So I don't know. So let's go a little bit deeper into the next revelations that she was given. Of course, these are all, potential, I think. That's the way you have to look at these, because I've seen these predictions, for decades now. And we still haven't seen the earth destroyed. Now, I believe that the reason why we didn't get an earlier destruction of the earth is because there were enough people. There were so many people awakening that they decided to give it a little bit more time, so that more people could come on board. Of course, we have a lot of people that are not going to come on board, and that's just their path. They'll stay with, probably, if they survive, most of them won't, I believe, with the old earth. Now, will there be no destruction? And we can all pray, which I do, obviously, that there won't be. But we have to be informed and open to the possibility that this is coming.
Flat interior, the Mississippi River Valley stretching from the Illinois border down through Missouri and Tennessee and into the Mississippi Delta and Louisiana. I had taught enough geography to recognize the New Madrid seismic zone, that dormant threat that geologists had been quietly concerned about for years. The fault system that in 1811 and 1812 had produced earthquakes powerful enough to ring church bells in Boston and temporarily reverse the flow of the Mississippi River. It was not dormant anymore. April 22nd, Jesus said, the New Madrid fault ruptures at a magnitude that exceeds any recorded event in American history. The shaking will be felt in 37 states, but the destruction will be concentrated along the river valley, where the soil liquefies under seismic stress, and every structure built on that foundation behaves as though it was built on water. I watched the Mississippi River do something I would not have believed possible if I had not studied the 1811 accounts. I watched it reverse. The riverbed buckled and the water hesitated and then moved the wrong direction for several minutes before the ground settled into a new configuration, and the flow resumed in something that was no longer quite the same channel it had occupied the day before. Bridges that had stood for 60 years folded at their centers and fell into the water in segments. The bridges that carried Interstate 40 across the river near Memphis came down while traffic was on them, and I could not look directly at what that meant, and I did not have to because I already understood. St. Louis was built on geological sediment that amplified seismic waves. I watched buildings sway beyond their engineering tolerances and come down in sequences that were almost rhythmic, one triggering the next, dust clouds rising and merging until the skyline was no longer a skyline but a horizon of smoke. Memphis endured shaking that lasted 4 minutes and 30 seconds, which is an eternity when the ground is moving, and the older buildings in the downtown core collapsed almost immediately, while the newer structures held longer before failing in aftershocks that arrived every few hours for 2 weeks. The infrastructure consequences were worse than the immediate structural damage. The natural gas lines running under those liquefied soils fractured in hundreds of places simultaneously. Fires started that the fire departments could not reach because the roads were impassable and the hydrant system had lost pressure. The electricity grid for the entire central region went dark within the first hour, not from deliberate attack, but from the Simple mechanical reality that transmission lines cannot survive what the ground did that afternoon. The population of Memphis and St. Louis and the smaller cities along the river valley found themselves in the dark, in a city that was partially collapsed, without running water, without gas service, without functional roads for emergency vehicles, 6 weeks after the Eastern Seaboard disaster had already strained the federal emergency response system to its limit. I watched the coordination failures. I watched the political arguments about resource allocation happening in conference rooms, while people in the affected zone waited for help that was not coming with anything like the required speed. New Orleans flooded again, but differently than 2005. The levee system held in some places and not in others, and the combination of seismic damage to the soil and the altered drainage patterns that followed produced a flooding scenario that the engineers who had rebuilt after Katrina had not modeled for. Portions of the city that had survived 2005 went under. The evacuation had been partial and chaotic, and tens of thousands of people who had been told to shelter in place discovered that shelter in place meant standing on rooftops in water that kept rising. Jesus did not speak during much of this. He let me watch.
All right. So, it does sound very tragic. I think it's a possibility. It seems, I've been seeing this for quite some time. I always thought that, our consciousness was rising to the point where it wasn't going to happen, but there is that possibility that it will happen, and it will happen this year, right? So everything points to this year. Now let's go. If you want to go deeper into that and listen to that whole, I would recommend you listen to the whole thing and just take it in, just observe it, and just take it in. It's Heaven's Gate. It's, Jesus warned me, leave these 4 states before March 15th. Urgent near-death experience warning, NDE warning. So you guys can go and see the rest of that. I watched it. It resonated with me, but I still think there is a possibility that it might not happen, all right? Or it won't happen on those days, but it could still, right? So that's where I'm at with it. Now, Dolores Cannon made a shocking 2026 prediction that nobody's talking about, but it's the key to understanding what happens after the consciousness split, right? So she talked about reality acceleration phenomenon, prophecy, and why 2026 will fundamentally change how time, manifestation, and human consciousness work. While everyone focuses on December 2025, Dolores Cannon went further. She predicted what happens when the higher frequency reality kicks into full gear. Now, I've talked about this for years, how manifestation is happening faster and faster and faster at incredible rates. I've been able to, manifest at a very fast rate, but I see that everything is happening at an incredible rate right now. So after the 2025 consciousness split, she said so we've seen the the people that just don't believe in any of this stuff, don't believe in Trump, don't believe in consciousness rising, 5D and so forth. They just don't believe in it. Many of these people are, like Dolores Cannon said, are just these kind of automatons here in existence that don't have much of a soul level, and they just go with what everyone else says. They just go with the flow. They don't have their own consciousness thinking. They're just floating through this and going with where everybody pushes them. We saw this with the COVID-19 vaccination program. So a lot of these people are just going to go with what and where everybody else is going. So yeah, NPCs, non-player candidates, right? So she talked about them, and I've talked about this for quite some time, saying that upwards of 70 to 85% of humanity on the earth right now are NPCs, right? So that kind of fits with, the 80-20 or 70-30 vaccinations that happened here on Earth for many places. Some were as high as 90+% getting vaccinated. All right. So here in America, we were kind of on the low end at 70%. So we only have 70% of NPCs, I guess. And not everybody that got vaccinated is an NPC, right? Some people just kind of got caught up in the push, and families were pushing them to do it. Many of those people that get pushed by families to do it are gone, right? They had 3 days and gone, and now many other people, as time has gone on, we were given a 5-year window of when most people would start to expire. But we've seen where a lot of people are expiring all the way up to that 5-year window. Now, people that have been, I think it's encouraging, because there's a lot of people that have tried, remedies, detoxing and so forth from that toxic, 19 stuff that went in. But then you have people that are getting boosted, and it's just decreasing their time on Earth, I think, unfortunately. So that's a reality that we live in. That's why I believe that we're in this, where the Earth splits, right? The fact that we're going to have probably a massive portion of humanity go into the new 5D Earth is very impressive. If we go all the way back to 2012, December 2012, where we're supposed to have that split, we continued. We had a timeline shift where we were able to hijack the takedown and continue on to allow more people to awaken. And I think a lot of people awakened in 2020, 2021, and on and on. So it has been, I think, a fantastic move, but we're getting very towards the end of how far this can go, and I think that's where we're at. So anyway, she goes on to talk about the reality acceleration phenomenon, which the NPCs don't get to participate in, unfortunately, where time moves 10 times faster. Doesn't it feel like that? We just went through last night, or in the middle of the morning, early morning hours. We did, although we have been telling Congress for decades, we don't like that. 80% of us don't want this timeline bullshit shifting, but they keep us in it. These demons, this one-party demonic system that's running our country. So it feels like everything is like just accelerating time. Everything. I mean, you wake up, you cover one news story, and by an hour later, it's old news. It's just so much is coming at us these days. It's just incredible. Manifestation becomes nearly instantaneous. Nearly instantaneous. You think it's there, right? It's like my wife and I do this all day long. It's crazy. I see her do it. It's like it used to shock me, but it doesn't. And I'm just like, yeah, we're in that zone. It's just manifestation. What do you want now? And she's like, I like this, and then bam, like wow. So it is. It's that way for all of us. So be sure to think positive. All right. Be very, very positive. All right. Stay in the love vibration. Very, very important now. Because if you think negative and then that happens, you're like, why do negative things just keep happening to me? Because you're thinking negative. Hello. So anyway, those who miss the split will try to artificially ascend through expensive technology that doesn't actually work. So I think that we're already moving back and forth into 5D, coming back into 3D, settling things, and then going back into 5D. And that's part of that instant manifestation. That's acceleration of time. We're already experiencing that. And then we see the NPCs, which seem to be just like getting stupider by the minute. And it's just what it is, right? Because we're moving into higher consciousness realms. All right. So Edgar Casey, another incredible psychic, he said during this time period, the year that has the best aspects of all is 2026. And so he's talking, he's passed on quite a long time ago, but he was talking about this range of time from 2024 to 2027. He says, but the best aspects of all is 2026. Says there are several days in 2026 that have spectacular aspects, but the one that really stood out was March 20th, the spring equinox. On that day at sunrise, the moon, Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and the sun all come over the horizon together. This is a spectacular configuration. This group is lined up in good aspect with Uranus and Pluto. It represents the physical manifestation of spiritual ideals. All right. So that 5D Earth, I believe. So it goes on to say, when was the last time we had aspects like March 20th, 2026? So went back and looked at all the way back in November of 1989. And on November 9th, which would be like, I'm not going to say it's tomorrow, but because it's not November, it's like March 9th, but 1989, one of the most important events of the last quarter of the 20th century occurred with the fall of the Berlin Wall. So massive consciousness shift. That was magnificent. After that month, on November 29th, 1989, a large triangular UFO appeared over the town of Liege in Belgium. Over the next several months, that triangular UFO appeared again and again and was witnessed by thousands of people, sometimes at very close range. So we've heard that, this is the year that we're going to have disclosure, alien disclosure. So it seems like, everything is coming together for that. Quite monumental time. All right, so let's look at some of the maps that, show the world in a different configuration. These maps have been around for a long time, very long time, 20 plus years or more. These maps have been around. I've been following them. I thought they were going to happen long ago, but they didn't. So I threw these maps away. I used to have them up on my wall. I was like, okay, that's where I'm going to be when this is going to be a safe place. That's going to be a safe place. Now, like I said, I think that we shifted the timeline into the future. So I think that we're within that timeline right now, very close to this actually happening. So again, will it or won't it remains to be seen. But this is a U.S. Navy map. Blue equals submerged. So you see the east and west coast are gone pretty much. And then deep into this area of the country. And same thing with the Mississippi, the Jesus prophecy that we just saw, the East Coast, but they didn't mention the West Coast, right? So I've been mentioning the West Coast for quite some time, and halfway knowing that the East Coast was due and that this Mississippi was going to expand, right? So you see, in this one, pretty much all of Florida is gone. Most of the coastal area of the United States is gone, and the Mississippi is quite wide, and the California turns into a bunch of islands, from what a lot of people have been saying over the years. So here's Gordon Michael Scallion. I followed him for many years. He hammered everything. in his predictions. So when he came out with these maps, he had visions of these maps. And so I had this map. This map, was his huge wall map. I had this in the entire Earth, which I'll show you in a minute. But it didn't come to transpire. It didn't come to transpire in the kind of the time frame that he thought it was, and that was around December 2012. So I think, like I said, that we extended the timeline to transpire a little bit further forward, right? A little bit, right? Like next week, I don't know, but we'll see. As you see here, Atlantis, he's talked about parts of Atlantis rising back up that had sunk. Same thing with Lemuria. On the world map, you'll see bigger Lemurian islands on the southern side of Hawaiian Islands. Hawaiian Islands look like they still maintain, because I think they're the top of a bigger continent of Lemuria, which may continue to come forward. Now, as we zero in on the West Coast, you see Oregon's pretty much gone, half of Washington, a big chunk of the coastal Canada is gone, all the way up into Alaska, and all the way down the Baja coast turns into islands. California turns into islands, and I'm right there at that tip. Right, I'm right at the tip. Nevada pretty much gone. Utah pretty much gone. Half of Arizona, half of Colorado, until you get to the the Rockies. All right. So you go to the Mississippi River, same thing. Mississippi widens quite substantially, and then the same thing. You get just the southern half of Florida gets chopped off. All of the Bahamas gone. Cuba, all of it. Cancun, the Yucatan Peninsula gone, but Mexico, except for the coastal areas, coastal plains is still there, and so pretty much same thing all the way up the coast of the U.S. And then you have, let's see, where is it? Is it here? Yes, here's the world. So the world, I know a lot of you guys watch me all over the world. So here's that massive Lemuria that comes up. Massive area of Lemuria. So it's south of the Hawaiian Islands, and then that chunk that's right off the California coast. From my understanding, it went into the California coast. Mount Shasta was part of it, and all kind of crazy stuff. But it looks like that's all going to be lost this time. South America, huge chunks of South America gone. Now, I think this is Easter Island. Where Easter Island is, and it rises back up. And then you have chunks that are at the bottom of it doesn't quite show it, but I saw another map where it had Antarctica was huge. It rises quite a bit. And then Africa, all the plains are basically flooded. Egypt, pretty much gone, except for probably the pyramids. Right, so they've known, if they called the pyramids the center of the earth. And then the same thing over here in Peru. So Peru, the pyramids over there were called center of the earth too. So anyway, Australia, as the Australian Aboriginals have said in their predictions and of the earth catastrophes from the past, they said that the coastal plains that's why they live inland, because the coastal plains get flooded completely like you're seeing here. So it looks like it's going to happen as they predicted and as they talk about from the past. New Zealand, though, look at New Zealand. Whoa, maybe that's why all the elites are moving to the New Zealand. That puppy really rises up and gets a huge chunk of landmass. Looks like it's almost as big as Australia. And then it looks like there's a connection there with Australia and New Zealand that rises up, and then another island that comes out. So India, it looks like it stays for the great part up in the mountains. Himalayas look like they're not going anywhere. and pretty much you look at Japan gone completely. Edgar Casey predicted that as well. And then Philippines gone, and a lot of these islands, Indonesia, pretty much gone. So that's it. Russia, maintains. They predicted that as well. So very, very interesting. I've had people on my show that have talked about how we're moving into the collapse of a lot of different systems, and the collapse of land masses, like we're showing there. So it's a widespread prediction all around the world. People are predicting this and have been predicting this for quite some time. All right. So, and that's pretty much it. So it was a little bit a long one. It's a little bit later than usual. So usually the sun is down at this time, but it's up, and that gives us a lot of daylight left, for taking care of crazy things that might be happening in the earth, because they're coming, right? They're coming. So Philippines tunnels time, that's possible. Yeah. So there's a lot of different predictions that you guys have heard. Now the Philippines. So, fabulous spoils, my fruit trees, lychee, guava, cacao, avocados, star fruit, moraine, Barbados cherries, and pineapples will be gone if this happens. Oh, and my house. But I don't know, fabulous spoils. I think maybe if that's the case, you'll probably move somewhere that's better. I don't know. But yeah, you have a lot of amazing fruit in your yard. So hopefully your area stays, right? Your area of Florida. So whether you're looking at the the map of Gordon Michael's Galleon, what looks like maybe your area stays, I don't know, or if because that area it seems like magical. All the hurricanes never hit that area. You get flooding, of course, but you don't get hit because of the crystalline structure there where you're at. So maybe it survives. You have to trust your intuition and look at that. Or maybe there's nothing that happens. It could be that too. Maybe our consciousness just pushes it, and we just we're like nothing ever happened, but we're on 5D Earth. So. So that could be the way it works, right? So maybe your leches come with you, and and your house. So that's a possibility. That would be fantastic. All right, guys. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and I will see you guys next time.